Welcome to the Dealmaker Show, the number one place for entrepreneurs and dealmakers to learn about leveraging and generating status, frame control, and narrative power to close big deals. Here is your host, investment banker, deal-making expert, and best-selling author of Pitch Anything and Flip the Script, Mr. Oren Klaff.
I'm Oren Klaff, and you're at the Dealmaker Show. This is the place for lively discussion, lively discussion. Do you need more than that? But the lively discussion, the point of it is to discover what's new and interesting in culture, technology, and business with a focus on deal making, right? For you management geeks out there, the OKR, right, or the deliverables are 3 to 5 new strategies per episode that you can deploy in your own business, right? And how do you measure the strategies that we're trying to help you deploy? By increasing revenue. So get ready for laughter, conflict, pain, and truth. It's all here. And here we go. My guest today is a really interesting individual, Tyron. Why do I fight with everybody's last name? Giuliani. And Tyron is a specialist in LinkedIn. Think about it this way. If there's somebody you want to reach and they're on the internet, and got a connection on LinkedIn, 95, 97, 98% chance he can guide you with the strategy to be in a hot conversation with that person. Now, the reason this is interesting to me is because this is my claim to fame. If there's somebody you want to meet, I don't care who it is, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, as long as they're alive. I don't do Ouija board and all that. But if you want to meet somebody, and they're reachable in some way, I can reach them. I can get you in a live conversation, and then what you do there is your responsibility, the pitch. Actually, sometimes it's our responsibility too. But I want to introduce Tyron to the show and ask him many questions about reaching people through LinkedIn effectively. And Tyron, welcome. Before you say thank you, don't say that, because in 30 minutes you could be going. We've had people like just blinking, like, can I just get off the show by connecting? But anyway, welcome. I really appreciate you coming here. I know you're calling in from Japan. We're going to talk about reaching people that you want to talk to in a warm way on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
So I have my own strategies for reaching people, and here's what they are. No, just kidding. That's my own hour-long show. This is your show. I want to address the problem that I with LinkedIn that I see. You log into LinkedIn, you start doing stuff on there. It's like the cockpit of an airplane, of a 747. You know, if you've ever walked by and looked in there and you're like, Jesus Christ, who knows how to fly this thing? There's a lot of dials and switches and everything. And there's even a special language. 59, this is Tower 37. We're on approach at L18, requesting flyby on the 7 runway. Like, you don't even know what they're saying. So there's dials and switches and language. And you're like, hey, I'm just a passenger. So LinkedIn is so complicated. How did you learn to master it? How long did it take? Like, what's special about you? Where did you tip? Where I'm the puppet master.
Right.
Yeah.
You're spot on. And I think the reason LinkedIn is like that is because it's a granddaddy of the internet, right? It's been around since 2003. And every engineer that has joined has added something on and bolted something. And now you have this massive platform, which is, not always connected properly and is glitchy and has all these issues, and there's all these different elements. So it is overwhelming, I think, when you first log in. The way that I worked it out, I first saw LinkedIn in April 2004. I was here in Tokyo, and I was starting off my career back then in recruitment. Executive recruitment. I was going after foreign capitalized companies operating in Tokyo, going after the Fortune 500s, Fortune 200s, and we were building their executive teams here in Tokyo. So most global companies, they have an operation in Japan. It's usually their number 2 operation in the world. They need, we would bring talent from all around the world and in Japan to be CEOs, to be COOs, whatever. April 2004, I discovered LinkedIn. I was like, man, this is incredible. This is incredible. I was the 480,000th member, right? So this is early.
Oh my God, did they send you a plaque? Like, do you have it up on your
Yeah,
wall?
before you used to have in your URL, your LinkedIn URL, used to have your number, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it showed your user number. So I was in the first 500,000. But I quickly realized straight away that.
By the way, I love this. I love that there's a thing on Earth today where you go, I was in the first 500,000.
Right.
Because everything else I hear is like, I was a fifth person. I was the fourth employee at Google, but now there's a thing where you can go, I'm top 500,000 in the world.
There you go.
Back off.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. We should get a t-shirt with a number on it. But awesome. I quickly realized when I saw it, like, okay, this is obviously for the recruitment business. This is awesome tool for us. And, we were hammering it. Like, we just got on it every day and we worked out. And the keys for us, though, we sell a product, which is a human, and we sell it to another human. So on both sides of our equation, then it's people that can say no.
Second, sorry to interrupt you, but second amazing thing you've said. We are now living in the day of our age, 2021, in the year of our Lord, where we say, we sell a product, a human, and the FBI is not like tracking the way to your doorstep right away. You can also say that. So we live in interesting times, everybody, as I'm thinking through this. But okay, so we're selling humans.
So one of the big things is both of my product can say no and my client can say no, right? Most people just sell something and it's a yes or no, but I'm selling both. So one of the biggest things I learned very, very early on is how can I communicate with these people where they're going to go from know, like, and trust me very, very quickly? Because, I'm telling a CEO in New York, hey, why don't you move to Tokyo? Bring your family, change your whole life. And they never met me. So I had to work out very quickly, how can I get into discussions with people and get them to trust me very, very quickly? And that's a huge part of always been my overall strategy. And what I see lacks on LinkedIn so much is the rubbish that gets dropped into my inbox every single day. People totally forget the way that we communicate when we meet someone. And this is how I see it. And I can explain it, Oren. Imagine, like, in Tokyo, if you came to Tokyo, you came to a networking event with me. Everyone, Japanese men, particularly salary men and even women, they're in black suits, white shirt. It's like a uniform. Imagine you walk into the networking room, but in the middle of the room, there's a guy in a neon pink suit. He's wearing this neon pink suit. You walk up to him. Everyone's in black suits, white shirts. You walk up to the guy with the neon pink suit. What are you going to say to him, Oren? Well, literally, what would you say? Guy's neon pink suit.
Yeah, I would say, bro, you're what's going on with you? You stand out.
What's with the big suit? Why are you wearing that? Well, love the suit, mate. Where'd you get it? Why are you wearing it? He's wearing it for a reason. He wants to be noticed. He wants acknowledgement. He wants engagement, right? Now imagine this. If I used the way to communicate that 99% of people do on LinkedIn, they would walk up to him and say, hi, I'm Tyron. I'm the LinkedIn guy. Here is my calendar. Would you like to book a time with me? And here is my brochure about my services. I think we should be friends and for mutual benefit.
Tyron, I have been looking at your profile and I believe we would have a lot of business to do for mutual benefit.
Right.
What is the best way for us to get in touch with each other?
So what have they missed out? They've ignored the pink suit. It's obvious what this person is about, and you've ignored the thing that person is expressing themselves. And people do it on LinkedIn all the time. They ignore the pink suit. And what's the pink suit on LinkedIn? Well, the pink suit is them. And the great thing about LinkedIn is people put so much data on LinkedIn, right? They've got their schools, their volunteers, they're posting their inner thoughts, they're putting stuff up. Now, no one goes on LinkedIn, does a post and hopes, oh, I hope no one sees this. I hope no one comments on this, right? They put it on there because they crave that dopamine hit. When they turn on LinkedIn, there's that little red notification button. They crave it. So use it for your advantage. The best thing that you can do on LinkedIn is to emulate real life conversation patterns, the anatomy of a conversation, which is question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, anecdote, opinion, question. And that's how we, like, you think of any time you meet someone in real life, The anatomy is nearly always the same. Answers are smaller, then they get larger and larger as the conversation goes on.
Okay, I got to slow you down because my goal here is for takeaways. And you're
I'm going to give it right now. I'll give you the
no, but you've done some. No, don't give it yet, because just in the things you've said to me are some real diamonds, not even the rough, just diamonds in the window store. So the pattern match that you're looking for is no like action. How did you phrase it? No like
trust. No like trust. And I want to accelerate that and shorten that period.
So write this down. If you're listening to this in earnest, so like if you're driving around and you're like, hey, I got to listen to a podcast, Oren cracked some good jokes. I haven't heard any today. Maybe some are coming, then whatever. But if you're really looking to change the impact you're having, it is the question is, how do I accelerate knowing somebody, liking them, and trusting them from a week, month, year-long process to boom. Second thing I heard from you, your words, I'm just trying to feedback because I'm trying to A, highlight it for myself and people listening, but B, I want to validate this is what you actually said. Mm-hmm. And I heard you say no one approaches you with the things that you would actually buy using the techniques that you know would work.
Yeah, no one ever.
So there's a lot of scarcity in terms of these techniques, which is fantastic, because what can happen with some techniques that move out through, through the internet into popular culture is they wear themselves thin. Absolutely. Hey, if you had 27, hey, sorry to bother you. I know I'm a bother. If I can just get 27 of your seconds, I'll show you why I'm a value to you. So like maybe that worked the first 5,000 times, and now people are like, or hey, I'm calling you about your car warranty. Click. So there's things that work for a small period of time, but then they devolve into a commodity. But the things we're going to talk about here haven't been commoditized yet. And to me, that is significant and it's interesting because it says they've got they require some skill to deploy. Otherwise, the machines would be doing it. They require some nuance on your side to deploy. But once you do, you're not going to be in copycat land. And I think that's so important because we see good pitches all the time, but yeah, we saw that pitch 5 years ago, right? I'll give you a perfect example, not to be abstract. So there's a slide that shows how data has changed, the consumption of data, right? And data went from, small hard drives to multiplied again. And, today there's 2,000 petabytes of data a day being created, and there's going to be more. Like we've seen that slide. It is no longer meaningful. You can't sell with it. Everybody who could ever be interested in that slide has already seen it. So the fact that there are approaches that are fresh and high percentage effective is so. You should be turning up the volume. In my mind, I don't want to tell you what to do, but do this. Like shut down everything and listen to what's coming next. I don't know. This is a good setup, but I think you gotta clear the air if you're listening to this and saying what in the world is effective, is being done by Tyron, who's not as flashy guy, right? Because by the way, it's the other problem. We get people on here who are super flashy and they're like, oh, all I do is I walk up to somebody and I go, how are you? Hey, mate, how are you? Right? And then they want to do business with me. And it's like, oh, you have to, and like, yeah, motherfucker, no. Because you're like this special person we can't duplicate.
Right.
You're not flashy. So, okay. So, can we just paint the target? I have a $20 million company that I actually need to hire a CEO for. We're in Southern California. They're in data and hosting. The job market is completely bananas. There's negative 10% unemployment or whatever number. Everybody wants $1 million to help you tie your shoelaces. And so walk me through how I would start to think about your process in, in the LinkedIn universe.
Right. So, this is the thing. When we talk about strategies and as you said, like bots can take things over, what we're doing is really emulating what's inside us. This is when we hear the word spammy and salesy when on outreach, the reason for that is because it is so different to the anatomy of a conversation and what we experience every day.
Yeah.
We talk a certain way, right? Every day. I'm 47. For 47 years of my life, most of it I've been speaking. we use the same pattern. So that's why things are so awkward inside LinkedIn, and it's called Messenger. It's
but
not.
okay, but slow down. Slow down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be interrupting you, but I'm just like unpacking this so you don't just like zoom through this and everybody goes, that was exciting, but it went through my brain like poop through a goose. That's why I want to pause on some of these things. When somebody's talking to you and it feels unnatural and you feel like you're being sold or it's out of a can or what does that sound like? What does that tape in your head when you're hearing something that feels unnatural?
Mm-hmm. Well, instantly your buyer's defense comes up, right?
But give me a couple of examples of what you've heard that makes you feel uncomfortable and unnatural, and you just instantly get that buyer's remorse before you even have bought.
It's going to be generally what it will look like, especially on LinkedIn or any kind of messaging service. Someone will come up, "Hi, Tyron, love to meet you," and then they ask the question that they will pick a pain point. And they say, "Oh, how's your ABC going?" Or,
Sure.
"Hey, are you suffering from ABC?"
So it's over acceleration. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, they think, right? They think that, well, they've been taught by all these salespeople, like, talk about pain points, discover the pain points. So they've done that. Okay. But they've done it in totally the wrong sequence, right? Another way it looks like is when someone comes in and says, "Oh, hi, Tyron, lovely to meet you." And I call this the value vomit. They come into your inbox and say, "Hi, Tyron, I'm an ABC. Here's a download of the 10 top things that you should try with ABC. And here's a video that you can watch of ABC. And why don't you book a time in my calendar?" Now, they think they've given value because everyone, especially marketers on LinkedIn, there's nothing against marketers. They have changed the style of LinkedIn. However, what they've taught is this, give value, give value, give value. But people have messed it up. They've totally messed up what that means. Because unless I have a discussion and find out what that issue is, I'm not giving value. I'm literally giving a value vomit in their inbox that they have to go and clean up, because that may not be the issue I have, but you've given value. And they're like,
well, actually, you've taken value. You've taken value. It's not only have you not given it. So when you do a value dump, right, that nobody asked for, you've given them something they never even wanted. Like, I'm walking through Costco, right, and they're like, "Hey, would you like this biscuit with some cheese, a little thing cheese on it?" I'm like, "Do you know I have to eat 3,000 calories a day? Like, it is going to take me more calories to stop, talk to you for 30 seconds, and eat these 8 calories than no, I'm not going to eat your thing that I don't want." And so value that nobody asked for, didn't want, and is imposing, and you're actually taking value.
And it doesn't work, right? It converts less than 3-5%, right? And I see that over time. And everyone always says, "Well, I give all this value," but no one responds because it's not value. They've got to clean it up. So, what I like to do, the way that I approach it is also on LinkedIn, you have to go with the flow, like stop fighting against the tide. And what I mean by that is I've got a whole heap of clients and they say, "Oh, Tyron, I'm trying to find this person, or I'm trying to speak to that person, but they're not responding." Then I look at that person. The person's got like 90 connections. The person hasn't posted in 2 years. And the last post they shared was about their company, we're hiring something. Listen, don't chase people on LinkedIn that are dead and dormant. It is pointless, but I see it over and over again. You've got to think of it like this. LinkedIn is one channel, right? You've got all your other channels. If you're going to do prospecting on LinkedIn, you've got to say, okay, I'm going to use LinkedIn for the active of the active players. Yes, there's plenty of lurkers that sit and watch, but if you're going to be proactive on outreach, stop chasing everyone. It's the most simple thing. And the easy thing to do is to filter for those that have actually posted in the last 30 days, and then filter one more time. Go in and find those that are posting around 2 or 3 times a day, 2 or 3 times a week, at least. Usually I like to get like a 3-week, 3 posts a week, because what I can do within a 2-week period, I can guarantee I'm going to be in a warm, hot, pretty hot, but definitely warm discussion with that person, and have them ask me, "Oh, tell me about that time. Tell me about that service," or get my clients.
So, okay, that went super fast from You know, I was going to high school, and then I married the love of my life, and we had 3 kids, and we moved to Malibu.
And I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay.
You've got to stack it up, right? So what I recommend, a lot of people that are prospecting, if you're a small business owner, medium business owner, or you're just trying to get a group of people, is they go into the market at the start of the month and they spam, they run ads or whatever. And whoever comes to them, or whoever gets caught in the net, that's who they speak to. And that, small business owners, medium business owners, they might only be actually speaking to about 3 or 4 people a week if they're lucky, like where they actually get to reveal their service or pitch.
Why are you trying to insult me like that? Okay.
Right, but this is the thing. I like to do it like this and tell my clients, do this, work in cycles, right? Doesn't matter what part of the month, but work in like 15-day cycles or 20-day cycles, and say, here are 50 people I want to speak to. So do it the other way around, right? Here are 50 people I want to speak to. They fit this absolute criteria. Now, it could be I want to speak to CEOs of companies that are this size, this industry, this location, who are active, right? Active. Everyone else, you're going to have to pick up the phone like other people. You're going to have to do an email. But on LinkedIn, you do that. Then you stack it. You've got your 50 people, and it's really, really basic. As I said, these are people that are posting. Now, people are posting because they want and crave acknowledgement. They crave engagement. So all you have to be doing over that 2-week period, you are on them like white on rice. And some people feel, well, this feels like I'm stalker. No, they want your comment on their post. They need it. They want that like.
Can I validate that? Sorry. It's first of all, it's okay for you to say, Oren, I can't complete a sentence here, but, and I'll just let you run, but it just feels like I'm talking over to you because you're in Japan and you're not picking up like my little subtle cues that I want to say something. That's why it feels like I'm coming in on top of you. I'm not trying to. And by the way, you perfectly okay, for you to say, I need to be able to complete my sentences, but, so I want to, validate you to be able to say, don't interrupt me, but you're just triggering some like big topics in my mind. I know any number of people worth $100 million, $200 million, $1 billion. It's just the work I do puts me in connection with those folks. I'm not trying to say like I go out to dinner with them every night, for sushi, or we call each other to see what our Xbox scores are, or whatever. But through work, I meet a lot of those guys. And then because I'm a personable, charismatic person, I love life, and this is my job. Our lives intermingle a little bit, and I get a little bit inside their inner circle. Let me tell you what's there. Nobody. You will be shocked of people who I could, that I know that you would see on TV, on the news, read about in magazines, where their inner circle is like 5 or 6 people, and 3 of those people are complete losers, and they are just in a void of attention. And so you could literally, I'm talking like founders of Microsoft. I don't want to name names. You'd be surprised how easily you could pierce through there. And if you've got some value, some charisma, some topic, and it's about them, and you're a decent, medium, high status individual, you'd be an instant conversation.
Absolutely.
We have this, sorry, I turn it back over to you, but we sort of have this vision of like, from having watched Entourage, right? That you have Vinny, right? And then around Vinny is his friends, and then are his agents, and then his lawyers. And you never get to talk to Vinny, unless you're waiting in line, it's a screaming girl in a concert or whatever. But that's not the real world. Is there are these empty holes around people that are very easy to get into. And I think I hear you saying that same thing.
Yes. So, and this is the beauty, right? It doesn't take much on LinkedIn to be known by the person. Then the next phase is obviously be liked. And the third part is that trust element. So, but you can get their attention very quickly, right? 3 or 4 engagements, and they've gone back and forth. They're doing all the heavy lifting. They're making the content. They're creating the idea. They're posting. You're acknowledging it. You're giving that rub on the head, the Scooby snack. Good job. I love that. That's a great post. That's interesting. Ask a question.
But let's just, and I know this is sort of inside your whole program, but I have my thoughts on this. Like, this is a nuanced area where you can try too hard, or you can be too cliche. So there's bookends. Like overdoing it.
Yep.
And you're overdoing it when it's long or it's TMI, or it's
Absolutely.
about you, or right. And then the thing that I fucking hate is, attaboy, go get them. Because, you know, I'm on social media.
Mhm.
Great job. Good content.
Yep.
Like, okay, hey, you know what? Thank you for sending that. Also, if I want that, I can just get a bot from Pakistan.
Absolutely. So
So
this is the
there-
thing. You've got to stack it up. Again, it's natural. Right? We acknowledgement, and then, you know, asking that question. And there's nuances to it, exactly. And it's not just going in there and being stupid. You have to have some social acuity and be a bit of, you know, a bit of business acumen. You know, if you're running a business, and you should have that already, and I'm assuming that your listeners are sophisticated enough. Yes, you do that multiple times, but you want to set it up so they're asking you, or they're replying to your comment, right? Very quickly, literally within, I find, around 5 engagements, they come to me on you know, you'll get the connection request from them, right? Because they're seeing you in a short period of time. Because remember, for every one person posting, there's 42 people, this is in the States, that aren't posting, right? So you get that awareness. Now, if they haven't come to me within around 5 engagements, right, I go to them. Now, the way I do it, and this has worked, this will get 100% connection after, or you'll get into 100% conversation. They just don't ignore it. After I've had that engagement, they know who I am. They've also gone and looked at my page, and we can talk about that later. But I truly have a landing page, not a resume. I coined the client-facing promotional page, and we'll talk about that. And that's a part of the trust side and the credibility. But what I do is I look for the pink suit, right? I find something about them, and you can do it very quickly. Once you get into the routine, I'm going to find that pink suit. And what I want to do is I want to be a pattern interrupt in their inbox, because the inbox is a messenger. It's not an inbox, and we shouldn't be using it like direct email. We should be using it in casual tonality, the way we speak. And the way that we speak to someone is we make observation, we make a statement. What I do, I find something about them. I find the pink suit. Now, that could be a post that they've done that you've commented on. You can take a screenshot. It could be them on YouTube. I go and look at that person on YouTube. If they're like a mid-sized company, I just Google them. I go to the video. I go 5 minutes into the video. I do a screenshot of that. I find something usually visual. If it's showing their current volunteer at a, you know, it's current, I'll go to that volunteer website. I'll go into a page where there's a picture. I'll find that. If they are an avid blogger, I'll go to a blog that's 3 months old. I'll go to the last paragraph of the blog. I'll take a screenshot of that. I dump it into the messenger. This is, you know, after we've connected, dump it into the messenger, and I ask an irresistible question. I ask a question that I know they're going to answer, and it's not a complex question. We don't walk up to someone and say, "Hey, tell me about the world market. What do you think it's
right,
doing?"
right. Or people do this to me. They send a thing in the book, like, how did you come up with this? Like, let me get into my bibliography.
Right. We don't want to do that. You know, everyone says never ask a yes, no question. Rubbish.
Yeah.
Ask a yes, no question, because you're going to get an answer. And if they've got any common sense, they're going to give you a little bit more. But imagine this. Suddenly you've got in your inbox, or you got your messenger, all these texts. But then there's this image of you on the TV from a interview you did, you know, 4 months ago. It's at the 20-minute mark, and you're like, I love this point. Have you always been that comfortable on camera, man? Or imagine you're a company owner. You created your company. You've got a beautiful logo. And every business owner has done that, right? They've created their company. One of the first things we do is we make our logo. We show our friends and family, and they say, "Oh, that sucks." You're like, "I like it anyway. I'm going to use it." And imagine you go in your inbox, boom, there's your logo. The person's, "Man, this design is awesome. You come up with this, man." It is so, yeah.
I think of this as asking a question. This is just maybe a slightly different lens on it. Ask a question that I would have to be a dick not to respond to.
Right. Because it's
only a dick would not respond to this.
Right. It's about them straight away. Imagine a blog, and they're like, they see the last paragraph and you've underlined it, and you're like, "This was excellent, man. You know, when's the next one coming like this?" And they're like, "Shit, this guy's gone and read 3 months worth of my blogs here." So what we're also doing is we're giving them the illusion that we've actually gone and researched them. Now, like, I can do it in under a minute now, because I know I have a whole series of ones that I can check. I volunteer, you know, logo, blog, this, that. So I've got a series, but every time I go in, I ask that question straight away. It's that acknowledgement. It's the pattern interrupt. There's image. No one's using, sometimes you'll get video, some people use, there's a service that started up a couple of years ago and people will put a video. I tested this. I found the image and the irresistible question would always outdo those videos where sometimes it's like someone's writing on a whiteboard and your name's on it, or it's actually a message saying, oh, hi, Tyron, I'm da, 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 da. And it's like too much, too quick. Like, guys, observe, make a statement, make it about them. Irresistible question. And I find that after that warming process, engagement, I've never had someone not respond. And it's taken me less than 14 days. It's like going from dead cold to start the conversation warm, because, I'm the guy that keeps on like giving them that juice, that dopamine hit. Every time they turn on LinkedIn, they see that red notification that, oh, someone's commented on my stuff. And then I have a whole framework that we make that a very natural transition. But just doing that. Now, I've been on LinkedIn since April 2004. No one has ever done it to me. No one. And all my clients. No, I actually, about a month and a half ago, one of my clients said, oh, someone did it to me. Someone reached out using your method. I'm like, oh, really? And then it's this guy. He was your client 2 years ago. I'm like, there you go. Like, no one does it. And it's so simple. It is what we do in real life. We observe. We make a question or statement about what we observe. Just do it on LinkedIn. There is so much data there. And certainly after an engagement process, which can be done very quickly, there's tools in Sales Navigator that can automate parts of this and make it super quick. But literally, if you choose 50 people this month, within 14 days, you'll be speaking to about 40, 45 of them in Messenger, in a warm conversation where they're welcoming it. They welcome you. It's a totally different paradigm. It's not like, oh, here comes the pitch. And then the way that we transition stuff is also very natural. We're using assumptive kind of questions, and there's a whole science to it that I've studied the psychology and anatomy of conversation and some of your stuff, of course. But just the opener, that one opener after engagement, it just works. And so simple. This is the thing, there's nothing like magical about it. All I've done is emulate what we do every life in real life. We observe, we make comment. But for some reason, people go in there and use the inbox like direct email. It's not, it's Messenger. So you also get to set the tone, because when you set the tone as that kind of casual, then people are like, they're pretty, relaxed and pretty cool with it. And then your whole conversation is at that tone, which makes it even easier. So
can you see my screen?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. I love you in this video. Like, have you always been that comfortable on camera?
Yeah. Okay. Let's add it.
If I get that, I love you in this video. Have you always been that comfortable on camera? I'd be like, well, actually it took me a little while, but yes. And then we can stack, and then we can go into a transition phase. But this is the thing, like every conversation that I go into, every conversation that I start, I have a path that I'm going to take them through, right? I know what I'm going to do next. I know what I'm going to say next. They don't feel that. They feel it's a very natural conversation. It is, but it's structured, because what it allows you to do. Yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry. Complete your thought. I
was going to say, what it allows you to do is have simultaneous conversations going on at once and not being lost. Because what happens is a lot of conversations stall at this point, right? They start with situational questions. That's essentially what it is. And then they stay and they stack a couple of times. And what happens is the person ghosts you, because what they're thinking is, they're a player on LinkedIn. They know. They're thinking, what's he want? Where's the pitch? Right. So then they just go quiet. So you've got to get your cadence right, because you do want to stack on anything they give you back, but you want to start moving the momentum forward towards a revenue event. And that I see that all the time. People, they stay in situation. Oh, what's that? And that's and this, and then
I have some questions. I have some questions. So I do that. The screenshot I just shared you.
Yeah.
Hey, Tyron, have you always been this comfortable on camera? Like, you're so smooth.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so smooth. Have you always been, by the way, end with a question. That is one thing I want to highlight here. It's not, hey, have you always been this comfortable on camera? You're so smooth.
Yeah.
Okay. That is completely different. That's a universe apart from, have you always been this comfortable on camera? You're so smooth. No, sorry. I love you in this video. You're so smooth. Have you always been this comfortable on camera? Question mark.
Yeah.
End with a question mark. Nothing else ever goes after the question mark, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so that's what I hear you saying. So you send one of those, but to me, like, you couldn't send two.
No. So what I do,
Yeah.
so I send that and that they respond, right? This is again, this is after
Let's say they're busy, they're on vacation, they just had a baby. It you know, goes into the flow stream. They just can't get to it and they don't respond.
Right. So like if this is someone I've targeted and engaged, they're active and they're participants. So they're
Okay.
If they don't see it, again, what I do, I don't want to hit them up with another one, right? It's
Right.
just too much. But I do want to be different again. So what do? I pull out my phone and I pull out the app and I do a voice message drop instead. And it's a nice, 15 to 25 second drop. And it's if there's been a gap and they have been participating on LinkedIn and they have been posting and engaging, I am going to make a similar pattern, but it's going to be a voice message, right? But it's going to be
give me an example. Yeah.
Well, it'd be like, oh, hey, Oren, I noticed, again, it's going to be something that they've just posted. If they've ignored that, which, I just haven't seen it for ages, but if they did ignore it, I'm going to then drop that voice message again, which would be, hey, Oren, just, I love that post you did yesterday about da-da-da-da. Is there a series of them coming? Is there another one coming? It's about them, but now it's in a voice message drop. So they've got two things from me, which 99% of people have never done to them. Like, how many voice message drops do you get? Not that many.
I guess for me, the second item needs to have some rationale. Like, I get the first item that it's whimsical, it's coincidental. Hey, I was watching a video of you. Like, this is really funny. And I want to give you something that I would do that I think is interesting. But I feel like the second thing needs to have some motivating factor. It needs to have some rationale. It needs to be connected in some way. If it's just a second random drop, like one apple, good. 2 apples, okay. 4 apples, I'm having a tummy ache.
Yeah. No, what I'm trying to do though, there's phases to any discussion, right? There's the rapport, and before anything, again, as soon as if I call up and say, "Oh, it's Tyron again. By the way, I sell this or I offer this. Are you interested?" It's just not going to work. There has to be acknowledgement of rapport. Like, I don't care. Like, yes, I know you want to get into it, but I have always found that if I do that and do the voice message, I usually, if I'm thinking back to people that haven't responded, they would write back, "Oh, sorry, I've been busy. I missed your stuff," right? They apologize to me. But I still want to establish that acknowledgement. I want them to acknowledge that I've acknowledged them. It's just the lube that I find, because then I can transition really smoothly. But if I just, any time that I've gone into, even if I try to acknowledge some kind of problem, use some kind of, technique to I've got to get that acknowledgement. And if I don't, I just don't want to go forward. It's just the end result, the return on the investment of my time, it has rarely worked out. So if I've done pattern interrupt, I've done engagement, I've done voicemail, and they haven't responded, I'm on to the next person. I'm not married to them. I've got 49 other people I'm going to work it on. There is a point where you just, in any prospecting, I have a method that I've tested. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it over and over again. Sure, I'm going to miss a couple of people, but I'm going to get the bulk of them. I want acknowledgement, because then once they acknowledge, they're playing, I've got them, I've hooked them, because then I can transition into the other elements of the framework, which is going to take them deeper into exactly where we want to go with them. So man, I don't go and try to push until I get rapport.
That's awesome. I'll give you one thing that you can try that I have tremendous effect with.
Yeah.
I always look for a photo that they've posted or has them in it. And then I zoom in and I find something interesting in the background.
Yeah.
Right. And that is just a dead on signal that you're really paying attention, like something funny, almost like a meme. I just did one the other day, a guy worth $100 million. He had posted a photo of his kids at a jiu-jitsu contest,
Mm-hmm.
Tournament. You know, I zoomed in and all the advertising was for soccer, right? And this is an e-commerce guy. So I zoomed in, I go, hey, what's the ROI on these advertisements?
Right.
Right.
And that type of thing, that is perfect, right? To initiate, they can't help but respond. They just can't help but respond.
So they respond, and then do you feel like you've done your job at that point, and then the salesperson needs to do their thing, or do you do anything further?
Yeah, I go further. So
Okay.
after that, you know, and you've got to remember, it starts off with the engagement phase, right? So we've done this engagement on these are active players. I've done the engagement. They know me. They've gone. We've had these chats in the posts. They've looked at my profile. They like me. I've reached out. We're in this conversation. We're buddy. They're going to be like, you know, whatever they give me back, like, oh yeah, I'm going to do another article. I do one stack. I do one more situational question just to lube it a little bit, right? Just to lube it a little bit. Then I go into those kind of assumptive questions. And what I want to do is break my message up. But essentially, I mean, I want to get, you know, my clients talking about their deals. And remember, this is after all the lube that's gone through, but they will then use, hey man, Oren, now that I can see your profile in detail, because a lot of people don't realize sometimes if you have your profile closed off, people can't see all the information, all that kind of stuff, privacy. But now I said, man, Oren, now that I see you've got that your profile open, shit, you remind me of Tom out of ABC. He sells That's what you do, right? And they're like, yeah, exactly. Like, man, he had this issue. We solved it in 7 days. How are you solving that? Or especially if you know your industry inside out, back to front, and the main challenges, that's what you're selling, right? I'll either ask the assumptive like that. It'll be like, how did you solve it? How are you solving it? Is that something you're trying to solve this year, right? Generally the one like, oh, how did you guys solve it? Because they know they haven't. They're like, oh, yeah, it's something we haven't done yet. You're like, really? Man, within 7 days, that can be done. That's what Tom did. He had exactly the same thing. They're like, really? How?
And so how do you avoid asking a question that turns just turns it off, right? So for example, give you an example, like, hey, you know, did you get your tax returns filed this year? Mm-hmm. And if it's binary, right? Like, yeah, motherfucker, we filed our tax returns. We live in America. They send you to jail. Don't do that shit. Any other questions? Mm-hmm. Right. So I mean, I say that comically, but how do you avoid stepping on your own foot, so to speak, by asking a question that has a shutdown answer attached to it?
Yeah. And that's exactly right. You don't, you know, you want to be prepared that if they've solved it, you know, you don't look like a fool when like, oh, okay, that was obvious. Right. And that's why I ask, like, how have you done it? Right. And that's very different. Like, how have you gone with your taxes this year? That's very different than saying, did you file your taxes this year?
Yeah.
Right. And because then that gives the answer, what they respond can go either way. If they're like, yeah, we're absolutely done, we've got an accountant, he's like the top shit, blah, 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 and we're never ever changing that, then you've got the normal objections. Like, oh man, well, let me ask you this. Like, if there's anything you could change about him, or, you know, to make this easier for your business, what would you want? What would you want him to be doing for you? And if you do that, awesome, then you can sell that. But yeah, I tend to like to make the assumption that they've solved it, and I'm asking, oh, how did you solve it? It opens.
One thing I had Jeb Blunt on next week, and he had a very elegant solution for that, which is not them and us, it's them and we also add. Mm-hmm. So if it is, we've already filed our taxes, we have a great guy, Ernst & Young, they're amazing. You go, oh, great. You know, we add something to what they do.
Yeah. And that's why, like anything, I did a post the other day. If there's something that, you know, if someone does have an incumbent in place, then I like to ask that question. Well, you know, if you could have anything that you currently don't have with it, what would it be? And then that's the thing I provide. Well, let me just give you that, right? Because as you know, Oren, once you're in the door, if you're not changing their whole solution, but you're offering that supplementary solution, then you go hell for leather, right? You just over service, over deliver, and you're in the door, and then you try to take the whole business. that's kind of sales 101. But, the key is that transition. It's a very smooth conversation. And this happens quite quick. This is not something you do over 6 months or 6 email drops, because that's how we speak in real life, right? You use those, you write it like you say it. Like, I'm very casual, and I will say it out loud. And the filter that I always use is, with what I know of that person, with what my relationship with that person, if I wouldn't say it in real life, don't type it. I mean, it's such an easy filter, but it has saved me so much, because I'm like,
it's such an important point for everybody. Speaking and writing are different.
Absolutely.
Whenever you hear somebody, hey, you want to write a book, just like, dictated into your thing, and then the people came and then send it to somebody, get a transcription and public. Not only is that not a book, it should be a crime to have anybody attempt to read that. Right. Speaking and writing are in different multiverses from each other.
And that's the video. That's why it's called Messenger. It's not, it doesn't say inbox. Yeah. And this is what you've got. You've got all these marketers that are sending these like 6 email drop campaigns, and it's direct email structure. It's Messenger. Use it like, you can even see the person when they've seen your stuff. You can see him typing, right? There's the little indicator. Yeah. Use it like Messenger, and the tonality, it frees you up, because the thing is, yes, everyone on Facebook, they've got their suit and tie on, but in the Messenger, shirts off, and if you start that level, I don't care who it is I'll speak to. I'm an Aussie as well, so we can probably get away with a little bit more sometimes if we Aussie it up. But, it's mate, it's g'day, it's what are you doing? It's, it makes the flow so much easier.
And then do you go further than that?
So what I'll do, there's a couple of things that I want to do. Of course, I want to get them on a call, and that's where, the magic can happen. I want to get them on a call, but I don't want to seem like overly available and overly keen. But what I can do is I'll look at whatever the time is and just say, look, I've got a meeting at the bottom of the hour. Hey, but if you want to just get on a chat right now, let me just confirm that, let's do it right now. And then on that call, I'm just saying, hey, so you are suffering. And remember, they've acknowledged and they've asked you, well, shit, how did you do that, Tyron?
Yeah.
And so I give them the hard stop, like, so that there's no commitment. They don't think it's going to run for an hour and they trapped into some discovery call. Yeah. I go to that quarter hour and just say, hey, I've got a hard stop there, but I'd love to let's get on the call right now. Boom. And you can even send it in LinkedIn now. They've got like send a Zoom. You can send a thing right there. And in that 15 minutes, I'm doing that quick setup, that rediscovery. Man, I've been loving your posts. It's the same, just as you do as a normal human in sales. Acknowledge that and then just confirm. So just want to make sure, mate, you are having trouble with blah, 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 blah. Yeah, cool. And you're, I do a couple of questions just to discover, but it's literally within a 10-minute sequence. And I discover, I'm like, man, that's awesome. Just from hearing that, man, you're just like all my clients, we can fix that. Do you want to get on a call in? And I just say, normally I'll do it like an hour later. I'll be off this call in an hour. I want to decrease the time as much as possible, right? So it's still the momentum's there. I don't want it to be like, oh, let's do it in 3 days, because then it's a task for them. Now they're kind of juiced. They're kind of like, shit, he's got a solution to something that I've had in my mind for ages. And the great thing about it, that call, they're giving you permission to sell to them, right? Like there's no ambiguity. It's like this next call is a sales call, essentially. Yes, strategy, solution, blah, blah, blah. It's a sales call.
It's amazing.
So I'm getting, now this is where it can be really powerful. In between, I want to give them some kind of warming mechanism, right? Some kind of warming device. God,
I love you.
I just have I get my clients to create some kind of nice, easy. And again, it's not like this horrible case study. It could be a 2-minute video. It could be really graphical PDF file. Get it really freaking nicely designed. I mean, it doesn't cost much to do stuff and make it look awesome. But just say, hey, before I get on the call, I'm just going to send you this. You can have a look at, and it just highlights the what, when, why, how of what you're gonna. What you're going to sell them, just the highlights.
And what channel do you punch it through? So you send it through on LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, it's all in Messenger, right? So then they've got that little bit of pre-warmer as well. If it's a video, even better. 2-minute, 3-minute video, nothing like, oh, you want it to the point. But again, it's just giving them another contact. So you've got to think, by the time they've got on that phone call, they've had 6 to 13 engagements with you. They've had this, they've loved your profile because you don't have a resume, because a resume is used for getting a job, not get clients. That's why I don't know why business owners have resumes as a profile on LinkedIn. You're not trying to get a job. Like, you've got this free media space and you put a resume. No one cares what you did 25 years ago. They care about themselves now and what you can do for them right now.
Oh, I think people would care what I was doing 25 years ago, but I won't tell you.
But that warmer, and then on the call, it's straight into selling, and you've got their permission. So that's the cycle, and that can happen daily once you get that engine started. And that's why I like to say, my clients work in like 100 prospect bunch group. You can do it in 50, but you start the cycle. Once you get to that day, like 14 to 21, then the cycles occur, you're backfilling. So every day you're having these warm discussions. And, so the end of the month, as opposed to speaking to 15 prospects where you told them about your service, you've spoken to 85.
So
right?
Let me ask some tactical questions, because I know you're going to hang up on us and get the hook on time, because you're one of those guys who's like, oh, hey, great, thanks for being here. I do have an appointment.
I'm okay, man. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I've got more time. 40
Okay.
minutes.
So hear me out. I think everybody accepts, for the top 1,000 people in an industry, this is very exciting, interesting. You've demonstrated that we can see our path to effectiveness. You've given us a skeleton for implementing. As we go up, right, and into sort of top 10, say top 20 in an industry, where maybe this guy isn't posting, a couple times a week because they're at the CEO or VP level, and they're using LinkedIn, but they may sort of be afraid. Because I know lots of guys at the higher level who are afraid of engaging, because they're going to talk about multi-sex bathrooms and step on their, and get fired from Jeopardy because they said something completely innocent. Like, our maid from Guatemala, will be able, she picked up English very well. And then next thing, the IRS is descending on them, for their maid's credentials. So they're afraid to say anything
right.
that's culturally insensitive, could get them in trouble. And we have licenses, so they're tracked by the SEC, the IRS, the feds. And so these guys don't like to say anything, but we still want to target them. What are your thoughts up at the higher level?
Yeah, and I used to come across this all the time because we were getting Fortune 200, Fortune 500 companies as clients. I had 67 of Fortune 500 as my clients. There's multiple things that you can do. Again, if they're not there, they're not players. You can't do much about it. LinkedIn's just not the place you can outreach. Like, stop hitting your head against the wall.
But I think they're there, but they're just not. Don't put in output.
Yeah, if they're there and they're not putting stuff out, then at least if you're going to be connected to them, you've got to be putting your content out there and be seeing and getting that. I mean, that's the first thing. You can still do an outreach. It's just that, from my experience, like, you can do a blind outreach, where what I would do is then I would find information from them elsewhere, right? If they're not on LinkedIn, it is that YouTube, it's all that other stuff. I use exactly the same method. I'm guessing they're not going to be responding, and I'm fine with that, because I see the channel as one channel of omni-channel. I see it as one channel. I'm going for them. So you can still do a Hail Mary. At least do it again, acknowledging them. Don't. If you think, well, I've got one shot at it, I'm going to do that value vomit. Just don't start a conversation with them. That's all you can do. The other thing is you can matrix them. So the beauty, what I used to do is study the org chart of a company, right? And so I go into a company, I'd map out, okay, we've got the CEO, got the COO, got the director, and then I would find everyone in that organization, at least at that first layer, who is on LinkedIn, who is participating or not participating. And I would do individual approaches to all of them, right? So I do that quite often. there might be 5 or 6 of them that I'm doing an approach to, and I will try to warm. And this one could take a couple of months, right? If they're not that active,
but it's worth it. Yeah, but it's worth it.
It's worth it. I'm starting conversations with all of these people and starting that relationship. And I did it classically with one of the advertising agencies, big advertising agency in the WPP group. I won't tell which one, but I mapped out and I got in contact with around 7 of their at the director level, head of chief. What they call it, executive creative director, head of planning, head of accounts, head of media. I had all of them. I was in conversation. They knew me. You can either leverage that, obviously, for an introduction, but then the CEO was also quite known and he was, putting stuff out there. I did the approach on him because I know what's going to happen. When I did the approach and did the question, I let that relationship just work because I know from speaking to candidates in their organization, from people that have left the company, that, when he's making decisions, this is how he makes his decision. He speaks to these 3 people, these 4 people. So I know what happens. He's going to go and say, oh, shit, we need help with this. This guy's just reached out to me about it. Do you know anything about it? They're like, Tyron, yeah. Because, you know what people are like. If your boss is coming, what do you think about that person? And you haven't seen anything that's like negative. It's just been really positive engagement. You're like, you're testing him out. Oh, yeah, he's good. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, he's really good. I know him. Then the next person, like, I know him as well. Now, I walked into an office at this agency, and literally I had 3 of those 7 people walk up as I was getting led in, like, oh, Tyron. And the CEO seeing that.
That's amazing. I totally agree with that. Also, I feel like what you said is multi-channel. So if you're putting in tiny little bits on the other channel, then you can show up on LinkedIn in a big way. But really, if you're CEO of a Fortune 50 company, even we'll say Fortune 500, there's just really you're putting out obligatory Instagram stuff, corporate, and you're not dead silent. Right? There's some awareness, and there's very, very few people responding to that. So if you can be one of the few people that are responding in a very light way, like, hey, yeah, this is super interesting. I saw a 78% number. I've never seen it low as 72%. Hope it doesn't go to 80. That's enough. Do that 10 times, and then you've sort of gotten some visibility. Then you come in on LinkedIn, and
you've got to have those triggers, right? I set up Google alerts and stuff. So anything about someone that I'm tracking, I'm getting alerted to. I mean, those, for the average, most of my clients are small to, medium business owners. And, they're going after those companies, maybe 50 to 100 million in revenue. They're not doing super ones. That's when it's having your network. That's when it's, you're out there every day, you're hosting events, you're doing all that kind of stuff. That's how you get there.
But the larger point is, I think if you're getting good at it at the intermediate level, it's the same process. It's just a higher level of game, and you can use it for big game hunting.
Absolutely.
2 quick questions. When you proceed to a call, would you do a phone call as the call to action, or would you be interested in doing a Zoom?
I do Zoom now. I think what I love about, now everyone's kind of used to it, which is cool. I've used Zoom on all my calls since 2017. So I was using it and kind of forcing people to come on. Yes, it's not as great as face-to-face, of course. I think it's better than phone. People love the human face. That's what we're attracted to. We love our own face. And this whole Zoom fatigue, I don't buy into it, to be frank. But if you take a selfie or someone takes a photo, what's the first thing you do? Oh, show me. You look at your own face, then you look at the next people's face, then you look at the background and surroundings. People love this.
So I have a question. Are you wearing pants, by the way?
I'm wearing shorts.
Shorts. Okay. All right. Just checking. I'm not wearing anything here. Let me show you real quick. All right. So when I tell you wouldn't want to be on this episode. All right. But listen, when I look at you and look at your background, it looks highly orchestrated, and, it's beautiful. It's monochromatic. It looks organized. You got the samurai there, the world map. Is that organized, or is that just coincidental?
No, I've traveled to every continent on Earth, including Antarctica. So, I mean, I love to travel. So I'm also giving stuff for people I'm setting it up for people to also ask me as well. I want to make it easy for them. Like if they're, some people just, they're nervous or they're anxious. I mean, someone speaking to you, they're probably going to feel the same. But, I've got samurai and Spartan. I was ex-army, so I've got my Spartan hat. I've got samurai because I'm in Tokyo. So people are like, oh, I've had multiple people say, oh, I've got that as well. I've seen that, or I've got that. I've got a little bit of credential, a 2 Comma Club award show. I did $1 million in a funnel. It's just set up to allow the other person to like, okay, it gives them something to talk about. Sometimes it's a talking point, and it's there. It is a set.
I love that. Yeah. Hey, is that a dead body back there by the door? I can't really see, but I have one of those. I have one of those back in the refrigerator. No, actually, I went to a client and they do spine surgery, and they're like, "Hey, you want to see our dead bodies?" And I was like, "No," and then no, and they go, "Oh, great! Here, we'll show you. It's right down this room."
You're sitting on one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right. Dead bodies aside, I had another. Oh yeah, yes, I had a question. Australians, Aussies, English. You just guys have a beautiful way of language that works for sales. Like, hey, mate. Yeah, right. What you doing there? Fantastic. Yeah, we're a little bit of that ourselves. Tally ho, glory say. Yeah, you've been, and it's just kind of smooth, and it just rolls off the tongue, and it seems to be like further down your languaging in the British colonies. I know Australia doesn't really view themselves as a British colony, but anyway, it just seems to be a little bit more elemental than in the US. We seem more digital, more a little bit disaffected in our languaging, a little bit colder, a little bit more. This is my experience from salespeople, a little bit more aggressive. The tonality is more fixated on outcomes. Yes. And so when you think about Americans, just culturally in the language it's used in sales, do you have the same distinction? And if you do, what can Americans do to sort of soften their attack mode?
Right. Well, this is the interesting thing, because I've been in Japan since 1998. So when I go back to Australia, everyone says, why are you speaking funny? Because I've toned down my Australian accent, but within like a day, I'm talking Aussie, and really Aussie, right? And we, there's a lot of larrikinism, there's a lot of idioms that we use and everything like that. I love it. I love it in Japan, because in Tokyo, you've got every nation on earth has their embassy here. Tokyo is like this micro, it's like one world in Tokyo. So you've got embassies, you've got offices, you've got the corporate offices of every company. So you've got everything here, right, in one. So I get to mix with all these people, all these American CEOs and everything. And I don't care who they are, at what level. Australia has this very egalitarian feel about it, right? It works the other way, where we have the tall poppy syndrome. This is why people like Kylie Minogue and stuff left Australia, because if you stand out like a tall poppy, what's the first thing you do? You whack a tall poppy in the field. Australians are kind of bad at that. We like to be like, hey, you're like me, I'm like you, we're together. So, but we use that, and I ham it up when I'm meeting Americans. To be frank, I will.
And so I know you do it well. That was my point. What can Americans do to soften their attack mode?
Yeah, I think you had a really good point about always being outcome driven. It can feel contrived. This is what I've had conversations when I've been on planes and stuff with Americans, and we're having this great talk, and then we get off the plane. It's like, yeah, see you later, and you never hear from them again. Whereas an Aussie, I'd be like, really, like, okay, here's my number.
I totally agree.
It's kind of, it's when we're friendly, when we're calling you mate, we like you. And we want to have that relationship.
Yep. Hey, see you later, Tyron. It's been great.
Yeah, and it's exactly like that. I had that. I met a guy who, a massive company, they own a NASCAR racing company. I met the owner of it. I was flying out to Naples, Florida from Tokyo. I had a conference, and I was sitting next to him in business class. We're having a great chat, and he's like, yeah. Gave me his card. And I followed up with him like nothing. It's like we were like talking for like an hour, buddy. Like an Aussie would, you're just not like that. So like be real with your relationship. It's like if the whole authentic thing, like I just don't like the veneer. Like if you're going to actually engage with someone, be real. And it's not always trying to make it about them, right? That's what people love. They they want to have a showcase. They want to showcase themselves.
Yeah, I think would you agree with this? Americans compared to, and by the way, I'm only describing 337 million people,
That's right.
in
Not a
one
general
pigeonhole. So
Yeah.
this is scientifically significant research that I've been doing for years and years.
Yeah.
We just rolled the tape, but Americans feel very, they can shift modes too rapidly from polite to being forceful to getting rapport, and they jump out of frames very rapidly into the next frame, so where you can't see the transition, and then you start to feel like a piece of meat that's being processed when when you can see these transitions so transparently from rapport to from nice guy to interest in the other person, to let me tell you about my stuff, to can I make a proposal to you, to overcoming objections, to grinding on the sale. When you could see these transitions in the open air very clearly, it makes people nervous and makes them they'll still be there and not in the conversation, but they are secretly unaware to you backing away.
Right.
And so they're ending the relationship at a time when you think it still exists.
Exactly. And I think it can feel very contrived, and you can feel manipulated during, I think also outcome of winning. Your culture, American culture, is so much about winning and being number one. Right. And that comes across in business, and that's why America has the greatest economy and everything. However,
but here in America, I want to just tell you this. Here in America, we're number 583,721.
There you go. One thing about being in Japan that has really rubbed off is really being aware of group. Just in business, especially, if you try to do American style business here, you're just going to get nowhere. And I think this is what helps. This is one thing that helps Aussies. Aussies are travelers. Pre-COVID, Aussies get out of Australia and go everywhere around the world. You go to London, every Aussies work in a bar, right? We travel massively. America, we know the stats, right? It's more than 50% of the travel is either to Canada or Mexico, right? And 10% have a passport type of thing. Getting out of the world also actually improves your sales, because you're not coming from that lens of, well, everyone wants American stuff and everyone wants, does it this way. And it's just not. So I think when you have experiences out of your own country, and you can consolidate them and bring the goodness of each of it, just makes sales so much easier. But I've always felt when I approach and I talk casually, they come down. You can be in a conversation, someone walks in and they go back to being formal to them, and then they're back to casual with Ty. And I find that just, it just works so well. And on LinkedIn, you can do it. You can do it straight away in Messenger, and the voice drop is good for that as well, right? Just being super casual, because they match you. They tend to match.
So Tyron Giuliani, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You have cemented some loose ideas that I believe a lot of us have had about LinkedIn, and really made it clear exactly what levers, what dials, and what buttons to push. And this is amazing. If somebody wants to go further down the rabbit hole with you, where should they find you other than, Google?
Yeah, right.
People ask me all the time, hey, where should we find you? I know, the internet, motherfucker. Just type in O and the whole thing fills out.
Fortunately, out of the 7 billion people on the earth, or how many are there, I am the only Tyron Giuliani in the entire world. So that's kind of cool. That's the other beauty. When you Google someone, your LinkedIn, if you are active and participating, your LinkedIn will come as the first #1 search on Google, right? Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. So my firm is Selling Made Social. So anyone wants to email, goes to me. It's admin@sellingmadesocial.com, or come on LinkedIn and say g'day to me. I'll speak to you. I'll speak to you.
Selling Made Social. Find Tyron on LinkedIn. Hey, where should we find you? I don't know. LinkedIn, the internet, type T on Google. I don't know where, but Selling Made Social for sure. Hey, really quick, before I eject. What do you do in your for fun, your personal time?
Yeah, I mean, I had kids when I was late, so in my 40s. So I've got two kids at 6 and 4, and
I have a 7-year-old. I had a kid late in my 40s too.
Right. Yeah, it's all about them. I also have you wouldn't believe this, but I have a wedding dress business. We're the #1 independent boutique in Japan. We'll do up to 400 weddings a month, and a K-pop cafe. So I've got a lot of other things that I do, business oriented. My days are full, but any spare time, it's family for me now.
I love it.
Spent 30 years of doing business, or 20 years of business. Now it's all. I don't want to go networking events. I want to stay home with the kids. So,
yeah,
cliche, but it's true.
Well, invite me to Japan. I have a 7-year-old. I'd love to take him there and see what's happening on the other side of the world. I will go to my mailbox at the end of the street, every day, open the door, peer in there, looking for the invitation.
Yeah.
And as my mom would say, I waited and waited, and when no letter came, I knew it was from you.
There you go. Excellent.
Thank you for being here with us today, sharing a little bit about your family, your business, but most importantly, like the inner IP. Oh, by the way, guys, just let me finish off here. I was talking to Tyron, and he says, yeah, I'm going to share all my IP. Like, I'm not holding back, or I don't have a course that has, the super secrets, because of the 100 people that I share this with, that it can change their business. 1 or 2 has the energy, the gumption, the smarts, the motivation, the ideas, and the desire to actually apply it. Apply this. If you're in a mid-sized business, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we see it. This can double your revenues in a mid-sized. You're not going to double the revenue of a Fortune 50 company. I don't want to claim that. But if you're in a $10, $15 million company, you want to get to 30, boom, you just heard one way to do it right here. Yep.
Every day, daily discussions, pitching your service every day. As an owner, man, there's nothing else. Owners at that level, you've got to be out there. People love it. Owner to owner, that's what people want. They don't want owner to sales dude. They want owner to owner. Spend an hour of your day doing that, you're making money.
100%. Stay on for a minute. I'm going to turn control over to Daniel, and we will see you next time on the Dealmaker Show.
Cheers.
If you're planning to become a deal maker at this level, make sure to join the Daily Dealmaker. We get into one little piece of this daily. And so you're just stacking and stacking and stacking these tools and tactics and strategies until they come out of you as naturally as they come out of me and the people that I work with. Add the tips, tools, strategies, tactics, a little bit every day. And by the end of a year, you'll be a totally different, new, improved person and a very strong deal maker.
Hey, thanks for listening, and be sure to stay tuned for more great content from Oren Klaff. If you want to get daily insights and additional assets, go to orenclaff.com/daily and sign up for a 7-day trial of the Daily Dealmaker. See you next time.